You ever look at the world and just feel like the old political labels, they don't really work anymore? You know, that the huge divides we see in our societies are about something much deeper than just left versus right? Well, today we're going to dig into a framework that might just give us a brand new map for this divided world we're all trying to navigate. Think about it. Big political earthquakes like the Brexit vote or the election of Donald Trump, they didn't just come out of nowhere. A British thinker named David Goodhart argues they were actually symptoms, tremors from a deep cultural fault line that's been splitting Western societies apart for decades. So, what if our old political maps are totally useless now? What if the real fight isn't about how much money you make, but about your identity, about where you feel you belong? We're going to explore a new way of thinking that tries to make sense of all these tensions that are really defining our century. And here it is. It's this powerful idea from David Goodhart. He says the most important split today isn't between the left and right, but between two huge groups with completely different ways of seeing the world, the anywheres and the somewheres. Now hold on, it's not a clean 50-50 split. Goodhart's research looking at the UK suggests about 25% of people are anywheres. A much bigger group, around 45%, are somewheres. And this is key. There's this big 30% chunk in the middle he calls in-betweeners. They've got a mix of values, and, they're often the ones who decide which way things swing in modern politics. So who are these anywheres? Well, picture the mobile, university-educated crowd. Their identity isn't tied to a place. It's something they've achieved. It's built on their degrees, their careers, their personal accomplishments. They're comfortable anywhere. They see themselves as citizens of the world, and they really thrive in our globalized, connected economy. In the somewheres, they're the exact opposite. Their identity is more ascribed. It's given to them. It's deeply rooted in where they come from, their family, their local community, their country. For them, things like stability, familiarity, and loyalty to the group are way more important than the kind of personal freedom the anywheres chase. And when you put them side by side, the differences are just wow. For anywheres, identity is portable, something you build and take with you. For somewheres, it's an anchor. This one difference shapes everything else, their values, their education, even the kind of jobs they do. You've got the weightless economy of ideas, finance, and tech that anywheres dominate, versus the weighty, hands-on economy of making things, which is often tied to a specific town or region. Okay, so to really get this, we've got to walk a mile in their shoes. So first up, let's try to see the world through the eyes of an anywhere. From their perspective, the world is just brimming with opportunity. Their values come straight from the Enlightenment playbook: reason, individual freedom, universal rights. To them, change is good, progress is essential, and those old lines on a map, they're kind of becoming irrelevant. You see, for an anywhere, building a life out of a chosen network of smart, interesting people from all over the globe, that's freedom. They see mixing cultures as the engine of creativity. And honestly, they often look at the somewhere attachment to just one place and find it a little confusing, maybe even a bit backward.
And that brings us to what really gets under their skin. They feel like they're the ones being logical, adapting to the modern world, paying a ton in taxes, and for what? To be called an out-of-touch elite? They see this populist backlash as, frankly, irrational, driven by a dangerous nostalgia for a past that's never coming back.
Okay, let's flip the coin. Let's look at this whole thing from the other side, from the perspective of the somewheres. And for them, the world looks completely, and I mean completely different. Man, this quote just hits you. It perfectly captures that deep feeling of loss that so many somewheres have. It's this sense that the world they grew up in, the world that made sense to them, is being changed, culturally, economically, without anyone ever asking for their permission. And look, this isn't just a vague feeling. This sense of loss is tied to real numbers. It reflects a speed of social change that's pretty much unprecedented in human history. Just as one example, in England, the white British share of the population dropped by about 20 percentage points in just over 2 decades. For a group that values stability above all else, that speed of change can feel really, really unsettling. So the somewhere worldview puts security and the group first. They believe that things like strong borders and a shared national identity are the glue that holds society together. They often feel they have a kind of PhD in life, real practical skills, but that their totally legitimate concerns about the pace and scale of change just get written off as prejudice. And for the somewheres, this goes way beyond just disagreeing on policy. It's about what Goodhart calls the politics of disrespect. It's the constant feeling that their way of life, their values, aren't just being ignored, but are being actively looked down upon by the people running the show. So here we are, two massive groups with totally different experiences and values. This isn't a problem where one side just needs to win. No, the real challenge is figuring out how to strike a new political balance, one that actually respects the legitimate needs of both groups.
And according to Goodhart, that imbalance is the root of the whole problem. His argument is that for decades, our political systems got skewed. They became obsessed with anywhere values, autonomy, openness, individualism, and in the process, they became less responsive, less democratic to somewhere concerns about community and security. That's what lit the fuse for the populist explosion.
So what's the way out? Well, Goodhart suggests a few big ideas. First, we have to rebalance our values. Admit that security and belonging are just as human and just as important as mobility. It means building a fairer system that respects hands-on skills just as much as academic ones. It means managing immigration to rebuild social trust. And it means actually investing in the towns and regions that globalization forgot.
When you boil it all down, this whole conflict isn't really new. It's just a modern take on a timeless human tension. It's the tension between two very real, very valid desires. The desire for wings, to fly, to explore, to achieve, and the equally powerful human need for roots, to belong, to feel safe, and to have a place to call home. And that's the big question this leaves us with. Can our society, our politics, figure out a way to build a new deal that genuinely honors both of these impulses? Are we just going to keep getting pulled apart by this fundamental divide? Honestly, finding the answer to that is probably the single biggest challenge of our time.